Please keep that applause going for our guest tonight, JJ Barry. JJ! You're sitting among the people!
Hey. Woo. Did you guys like it?
Hell yeah.
So this is the second night in a row that you get to sit and watch the movie with people who are seeing it for the first time.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
what's the experience like? Coming?
It's always a lot of fun, you know, like, it's powerful.
When you spend so much time.
Is this on?
Yeah, no.
It's powerful because when you're in the editing room for so long, you don't really get that feeling of being in the theater. It's kind of surrounding you, so it's magical. I'm super stoked.
And like this movie, and movies like this especially, it's all about energy. It's just like, there's so much in this film from start to finish. Like it starts up and just never lets go.
Pacing.
Every time. Okay, so when you're sitting here, is there like a new part of the movie that's become your favorite to watch with an audience? I know that's tough to ask since you've spent so much time with the film.
That's a tricky one. I mean, for me, it's like, you know, because we did so much, you know, we shot it in 42 days, and then we cut it very quickly.
All this stunt work in 42 days?
Yeah, the movie was shot in 42 days in Budapest during a SAG strike, and we had a SAG waiver for that, so.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm just super stoked that everybody likes it.
Yay! Let's talk about your relationship to the book that this came from. Like, how did this land on your desk?
Okay, so I was a stuntman for a long time, and then I became a stunt coordinator and a second unit director. This script came to me like 12 years ago to be a stunt coordinator.
Oh, wow.
And then I got it again 3 years ago to be a second unit director for another star and another director. And then Andrew Lazar, the guy who, one of the producers, came to the editing room when I was finishing up Day Shift with Jamie Foxx and Snoop. It was another movie I did. And I showed him a director's cut of that, and he offered me this job.
Ah.
So it was a big win for me, but getting
Yes.
Dave Bautista to star in the movie was like winning the lottery for me. So I was like, hell yeah, because I'm a big Bautista fan. I met him when we were prepping John Wick 2 at 8711 at the gym where we trained Keanu and stuff. And I was just like, you know, he was up for the part of Cassian, which Common played. But I was like, and I did Common too, but I was like, dude, Chad, you should check out Dave Bautista. It didn't work out, but as soon as I got my opportunity to work with him, I was super stoked.
And then you just started knocking down the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, so I go back way back with Palm when she did her first movie in America. It was a remake of Old Boy that Spike Lee directed.
Yes.
And I met her there. You know, it was her first movie in the U.S. We're filming in New Orleans. So we trained her, and she kept training with us at 8711 for years after that. And she's just a dear friend, like a little sister. And she's an action mecca. We didn't really see much action from her in this, but Palm can ride wheelies, she skydives, she can ride horses, she can trick ride. Like she's gnarly. She's an absolute action star waiting to happen.
I always wonder when I'm watching movies, I assume that everybody's like family, but then I see a movie like this and I'm thinking, that really has to be the case because you're working with some stunt legends like Scott Adkins, and you know, you have this history with Palm that you just talked about. Was that the vibe here? Because, you know, the movie really feels like a tight-knit family even if everyone's trying to kill each other.
So I did a movie with Scott back in 2004 called Undisputed 2. I did like 5 movies with him. And
It's amazing.
And Marko Zaror too. I did a bunch of movies with him too, and also Daniel Bernhardt. So when you're gonna go somewhere like in Central Europe and shoot a movie in 42 days, it's like getting into a fight. So what do? You call your homeboys and your homegirls to help you out. So I just called all my old faithfuls, all my friends, and they showed up, and like, you know, they all were all in on it, and you know, giving them, like with Marko Zaror's character Bautista. I used to train a lot. I used to compete in Taekwondo in the 70s, 80s, into the early 90s. But there was a guy in the gym that I used to train with, when he had his Walkman on, he would just whip the shit out of everybody. But when the Walkman was off, you could tune him up. So that's where the Marko Zaror character was inspired from. This dude that used to beat me up when he was listening to Run DMC on his damn Walkman. And the unintelligible Scottish brothers. I worked in Fast and Furious 9 in Scotland. I locked up Edinburgh, and I had a crew of guys who were doing this car chase there, and I couldn't understand a word they were saying. But it sounded great, and it sounded fun and cool. And then the party girls, Lucy Cork and Shayna West. I hate to admit that most of my youth was spent preparing for that scene with them. I did a lot of research.
Got it, understood.
And then there's the Goyang crew who, because I was stationed in Korea for a little while in the army, and I did Taekwondo, so I had my homage. I'm in love with everything Korean and all things Korean. So, getting him there and getting the Korean stunt team to be a part of that was really special for me.
And honestly, I can't believe I didn't lead with this, but holy shit, yin yang blades?
Yeah, so does everybody know what Norabang is? Is any Hanguk Sarang? Have we studied that? No? Oh, okay. So Norabang is like where you go to sing karaoke. And in the 90s, I used to go all the time for karaoke, and there was the waitress would bring the drinks, but she had this tray. It was like the Korean flag, and I remember being a little drunk, probably looking at that tray when it was on the table, thinking to myself, that'd be pretty cool if we could tear that in half and chop something. So that's what that was inspired from.
Where are they right now?
The yin yang blades? Yeah. I bet my prop guy still has them.
God, that's awesome.
Yeah. I was gonna put that in day shift too, but I'm happy I waited to do it in swing.
Same.
Yeah.
It was worth waiting for.
Nice.
I was like, what am I looking at? Incredible. By the way, if you have questions for me, we're definitely gonna ask those. Because I could go on and on, but everybody knows that that's annoying and a little gross. So we won't go that direction. But speaking of which, like not being able to understand like what they're saying, and you created these great subtitles.
Yeah.
And so I think that speaks to the style of the movie in general. Like it all kind of has its own language. Like how did you go about developing that specifically? Like when did you know, I'm not gonna put just normal subtitles in a stylized movie?
So I'm gonna take it back a little farther. When I got the script, it had been around for so long that a lot of the characters had been poached and put in other movies because everybody read it.
Oh.
Somebody would like something, and I won't say which movies or which characters, but
I wish you would though.
well, I don't want to, because
Fair.
but at that point, it was like, okay, how can I be unique? So like having kind of a K-pop band of kids with a crazy dude with a switchblade that could do cigarette tricks. And then having, Bautista with his merengue, with creating those kind of characters with my players in mind and my friends in mind is kind of what happened when I got the script. I sat down with James Coyne, and he's a writer and a bro of mine. He's a dude, throws people around, does judo also. And we just started making it doable in 42 days. It was supposed to be, originally it was supposed to be Chicago. The original story was supposed to be Chicago. And then there was a moment where it was going to be in Miami, like 5 years ago, and then it was supposed to go to London. So I had to take it out of London, and I wanted to go to Budapest because my grandfather was Hungarian, the guy who raised me. And I've done a bunch of movies there, and I wanted Budapest to be one of the characters in the film. So there's a lot of drone photography. I don't know if you noticed all the drone photography we used. So that's kind of like style-wise with subtitles, with transitions, with split screening. I watched the old Thomas Crown Affair from probably late 60s, early 70s. I don't know if anybody's seen. Does anybody work in the film business here? Nice. Any film school people here? So nice. So like Thomas Crown Affair is like the gold standard for me for very clever, shot on film. And when I got in this business in '90, when I got out of the army, you couldn't just say, well, we'll fix it in post. Yeah. You have to figure out a way to do it in camera. And that's kind of like where I took that. When I was watching the Thomas Crown Affair, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try and style it up a little bit. A little Guy Ritchie too, for motivation. But I really didn't set out to make an action film. I set out to make a love story. So there we go.
Actually, also a shockingly good remake, Thomas Crown Affair.
Yeah, but the original.
The original is great,
yeah.
But it's when you watch the
really
newer
good.
one,
Yeah,
it's like,
really
oh my god.
Great, well directed, well acted, very
yeah.
good.
It's the heart of that story, and it makes a lot of sense when you say that that's something that influenced you.
That's right.
Talk about bringing Sofia into this as well, because she's such a powerful but empathetic character and actress.
Yeah. So, like I said, I scored, like it was winning the lottery when I got Dave. And, I was scared shitless of the character Maisie. because I thought, okay, who am I gonna get that can act and is charming and beautiful, and they can dance, because you can ask any actress in Hollywood, can you dance? But, oh yeah, I can dance. But I don't mean like tap dance in 3rd grade. I mean like dance, like for real. Like when they tell you, oh, I can box, that doesn't mean hit the bag. I mean, you know. So when Dave told me, he goes, hey, I want you to check out Sofia Boutella, because he worked with her on Hotel Artemis. And as soon, you know, I knew who she was, and you know, she's super cool. And because they had a really good chemistry already, and we hit it off immediately on the Zoom, I was like, yeah, let's get her on a plane. And she was on another movie at the same time, so we were kind of like swapping around, but that was a big win for us. It was almost like I had all of these aces in my hand. You know, like when you're holding the cards and you're holding aces and nobody sees what you have, it's like, I just gotta put them down now and bet right now, you know, like I can't really lose. Yeah.
All right, everybody, you got any questions brewing out there? We got one right in front.
I have a question about the finale. Was that inspired by the killer?
Okay, that's a really good one. So John Woo is, brother, like he's one of the gold standards. You know, come on, brother, you know. And I had a chance to meet him at the DGA after he did Face Off. And I didn't want to talk about Face Off. I want to talk about Hard Blood. He didn't want to talk about Hard Blood. But yes, and we did film that in the crypt of a Catholic church, and we weren't supposed to do pyro in there. But I just asked for forgiveness and not permission, and I confessed after, and, you know, hopefully God loves me and I'm in trouble for that. So, you know, listen, I don't know if you guys know what second unit directing is, or second unit. Second unit is like, because I've done a bunch of the John Wick movies and the Fast and Furious movies. You know, you go out to these places and it's not easy to do what you're gonna, you have to be a responsible filmmaker, but you also have to try not to kill somebody. But a lot of times our job is to push the envelope. And in pushing the envelope, there's a lot of times where I just don't ask for, they say, no, you can't do that. And I go, okay, go. And then we do it and I go, oops, sorry, but I didn't mean that. And then, you know, like, but then you get in the can and you're like, and if they don't kick you off that location, then you've done well.
Wow. It really seems like
I hope there's nobody from Ocean.
Well, if they are, they're not telling you now. All right. Put those hands up. Well, yeah, right there.
I was just curious, since we kept Terry Crews alive, are we setting it up for a sequel?
Ooh, I hope so.
Yeah, I definitely want to do another one. Definitely.
Yeah.
I want to do another day shift too, but definitely Killer's Game, we're ready. I got plans for you. I don't want to spoil it, but I got some plans.
When I heard that this movie was coming out and this would be like your follow-up to that, I got excited. And what would you say was your biggest challenge on this one that you didn't have on Day Shift? Because was Day Shift like a longer shoot? Was it about the same?
I just finished my 3rd movie about 2 months ago, and I'm delivering my director's cut. All 3 of my movies are 42 days.
Wow.
Day Shift was 42 days.
And Dave is in the next one too, yeah?
Yeah, he's in Afterburn.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's sick. But for some reason, like all the movies that I've been working on as a stunt coordinator, second director, are similar formulas, but for some reason those guys have 55 and 56 days, and then they give me 4 weeks of second unit to clean up. But for some reason, when they give me the job, I get 42 days. So I'm grateful, and I never thought I'd be doing any of this work. I'm just a broken down old cowboy from Stafford, Texas. So I'm super grateful, but it'd be cool to get a little more time, maybe another week or 2.
I wonder if that's sort of like the blessing and the curse in Hollywood, that you have delivered 2 and now 3 films that are pleasing everyone so much, and you set the standard, and it's like, whoops. Now they know, like, secret's out.
Like I said, I didn't have a plan when I got out of the Army.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get down to LA, I'm gonna get Stuntman. I came down here when I was stationed up in Fort Worth to audition for a Van Damme movie called Lionheart. It was his 3rd film. And I drove down, and I was 22 or 21. I was a ringer, I was fireballs, I had 168 amateur fights. And they offered me the job on the spot. They were like, Van Damme was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I went back to my base and I was like, hey, First Sergeant, you think I could get a month off to do this movie? And he was like, you ain't gonna do no movie, boy. He said, you wanna be on the movies? He said, look, he handed me, there was this big TV in the orderly room. He handed it to me, he said, look, you're on TV now, carry that around all day.
No!
So I had to carry the fucking TV around all day, I was on TV.
Oh my God, it's like a Full Metal Jacket moment.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
Something like that. That was my, but that gave me the headspace. I'd worked on 2 films in Houston when I was in high school, One was called Pray for Death with Shokasugi. I don't know if you remember the Ninja Craze movies in '85. And one was called They Still Call Me Bruce. It was like a comedy, low budget film. And you know, I was in high school, and I'd already sworn in. I wasn't getting out of the Army, but I didn't want to. I wanted to go, and it was great. And you know, getting to Station Creek, go all over the world. But you know, when that audition happened, I was coming down to LA to compete in a lot of tournaments at that time. It gave me it planted my head. I was like, okay, I got 6 months left on my tour. I'm just gonna get out and go down to LA. And I told my first sergeant, he's like, yeah, all right, we'll be saving you a seat at the table, boy. You'll be back. But here we are. My second movie, all this starts. So I'm gonna be okay.
So many people are out here to do. Like, it's such a great story. When you first came to LA, like, what part of town did you settle in? Like, what was it like? What did you eat? I remember so clearly what it was like for me too.
Like, so I moved, I went and lived in the back of a Taekwondo school in Inglewood,
Yes.
La Brea and Century out there for a while.
That's what I was looking for, yes.
Yeah, and then, you know, you got a couple of jobs teaching, got a job delivering cars as well for a little rental car place. And then I got my first job the funny job was a TV series called Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas.
Oh my God, I
So,
remember.
you know, my head was still I had short hair and I was still just fresh out of the Army. I didn't blink, you know. and they were like, the stunt coordinator said, hey kid, you know, they didn't even know my name anymore. He was like, so you're gonna run out the street, you're gonna try and grab this briefcase, and we're gonna slide this limousine around, he's gonna hit you. He said, you okay with that? I was wearing flip-flops and shorts, and I was like, yeah, cool. I just figured to myself, okay, if it's not gonna kill me, I'll just fucking do it. You know, like, I don't wanna say no. You don't wanna say no. So I went to the driver of the car, because I didn't wanna ask, and I went to the driver, and he's just laughing. He goes, you wanna know what you should and shouldn't do? And I was like, yeah. He said, just don't end up under the car, you'll be fine. And that made sense, and that was kind of the analogy that was kind of the mindset for all of the stunt work. Like, figure out a way to do it, you know, get around and just don't get injured. You're gonna get hurt, but you're not gonna get injured, hopefully.
Wow. Oh my God, there's a difference.
Well, hurt means you can come back to work. Injured means you're not coming back to work.
Right.
Injured means you can get sewn up and you broke something. So.
God, I never
You see me
thought-
limping in here, right? I gotta get both the hips replaced. I still gotta get my shoulder replaced. So there you go. Wrote a lot of checks.
That's the
And
price.
some of them are starting to bounce. So that's the way it goes.
Entertainment.
That's right.
That's like doing a Civil War reenactment one time. The old timers, they said to me, they go, here's the trick, die in the shade.
You know, we have a saying when you're on set and you get shot, die facing a wall so you can sleep. And I always tell my homies, I said, if I start snoring, throw something at me.
What would you say is like the biggest change in all the years that you have been bringing people this kind of entertainment at the cost of your body and your health? What's the biggest change?
I think visual effects has changed it quite a bit because, you know, in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, the guys that came before us, those old cowboys were super tough. Like, there's a thing, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, when you're jumping a car or blowing a car into there, there's a thing called a cannon. And basically it's just a bomb in the back of your car that has a telephone pole in it. You hit a button, you slide the car, break it down in like a 90 degree or 45 degree, hit the button, blows you up, and it rolls the car. Now, can you imagine in like 1975, a couple of those knuckleheads were out in a parking lot somewhere to say, look here, I got a bomb in the back of the car. You go 50 and hit that button, it's gonna be awesome. And the guy that goes, yeah, I'll try that. But that's kind of what it is, you know, like they were in uncharted territory. So I think that safety is, in the last 15 years, it's become more like method. We have to do risk assessments. There's a lot more safety. We're a lot more safety conscious. You know, as a stunt coordinator, your job is to help a director with his or her vision of the action. But they're also there if somebody gets hurt or killed or injured, they're going to blame you, even if it's not your fault. That's your job. You fall under the umbrella of responsibility. So does the special effects coordinator, and so does the first AD. So I feel like safety's gotten a lot better. I think that we do, because I worked in Hong Kong a lot in the 90s, and they didn't really rehearse. They would just show up because they're all like badass. You know, they're all badasses, like Samo's team and Jackie's team and all those guys. So you have to pay attention, and you know they would do something right there on set. I think we're better now because what we do is we do stunt viz. Like we'll build a room out. We interface with the production designer, with the set dressing, the set builders. and we shoot a stunt viz that's based on the space, because a lot of the targets of opportunity for the action come from the venue. Like if you're in a bar and a fight breaks out, or if you're in an apartment, like you can weaponize the place as well. Like, you know, with the glass, we broke the glass with a guy, put her neck and did that whole thing. That's kind of like foreshadowing what's going to happen, but you're using the environment. So I think we've been better about that recently.
And the Academy not having a category for people that are putting this much magic into the movies, I just think is so overdue.
Yeah, I'll just be honest with you, man. I'm not really into trophies. I don't do it for trophies, man. I do it because I like to do some wild shit with my friends and make a bunch of dough. They can have the trophies. Like, I don't need it. And if my friends want them, I hope they get them.
Yeah.
But that's not. We have a thing called a Taurus Award, which is a World Stunt
Yeah.
Award, and that's, you know, you get the nod from your peers. That's awesome. You know, I think
cool.
that's great. But like for me, the Oscars, they're not going to give it to us, because when you say that action, that stunt coordinator did the action, what you're saying is that James Cameron didn't do it. Or you say that guy did that stunt, you're saying Tom Cruise didn't do it. Like, so, you know, our business is based on that, you know, like it's a big ego thing. So for me, it's like, just be a stunt person, stunt professional, stay behind the curtain, just be grateful for the job. And now that I'm a director, I'm super stoked about it, you know, like, and you know, if somebody wants the Oscar, I hope they get it, but I don't need it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I like that. Now I'm like, all right, fuck the Oscars.
Oh, just a comment. I love that the fact that you had Scott Adkins do his signature Guyver kick there that you put in there.
So we did. So I was there when Yuji did the first Guyver kick in Guyver. I was the one pulling the mini trampoline on the rope, and then we did that same Guyver kick in Undisputed 2 20 years ago in Bulgaria. When I first met him, we did that. We directed all those fights with him and Mike and all those guys. And then we did it again in Deadpool. I got him on Wolverine X-Men.
Right.
We did the tournament, but that was one of the things, because, you know, like, Scott's a dear friend, and we're all getting a little older. And I was like, you think you can still pull those guy kicks off my brother? It's been 20 years. And he goes, I'll dust off those old knees. He's such a G. Him and Marko are just gangsters.
Yeah,
They're
awesome.
amazing. He's been amazing for so long too. It's like it's a crime, I think, that more people don't know his name.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the yeah. I wish he's always one movie away from being a huge star, and that's the way it is, you know. Like, but yeah, I feel like he shows up every time. He's always prepared. He's always interesting. His characters are always interesting. You guys see him in Wick 4? That was awesome in Wick 4.
Yes.
I introduced him to Chad. I introduced Marko to Chad as well. So I was super stoked that all worked out, and I think that both of those guys, you know, just really shine. Mark and Daniel Bernhardt too. Like, Daniel's a guy that we go back with, the guy who played M.A.A.C. He did Bloodsport 2 and Bloodsport 3, and we were in Sri Lanka and Thailand in the 90s, and that's Chad and I and a bunch of us were fighting and getting beat up by him, and we just all stayed friends. So yeah, it was super cool to work with all my homies.
The movie nerd and me also really wanted to know when the body was hanging off the horns at the end. Was that just like a dummy that was just part of the set dressing?
They don't make dummies that big.
Oh my god, that's awesome!
No, we had to we had to put him in a harness because I couldn't find anyone to double him because he's so big too. And when you wear a harness for a long time, your legs go numb. And he was so funny. He didn't want to say anything, but he's like, JJ, my legs are numb, mate. Welcome to my world, bro. It's okay, I can't feel my face, bro.
All right, so we have to wrap up, but if there are any burning questions, I want to make sure that we get, right there, I spread up. Whoop, your hand went.
First of all, I just want to say, this is actually my second time to at the premiere last night, and you were amazing, and
Thank you.
And so I already, I won't lie, I'm trying to be a screenwriter, video editor, but so it's like, once you see the movie, you see it again, and you start to catch things. So, first of all, I want to point that out.
One more time, I'm sorry, I'm deaf in mode. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, I caught something that I didn't see last night.
Okay.
That's all I was saying. So
Right.
it was like, you know.
All right, cool.
And my question was about your editing.
Mhm.
I guess more my question is, because I'm an editor, how do I phrase myself? How did you transition from being stunts to be able to get to be where you are?
That's a really good question. So again, I never thought I'd do it, but so in the late '90s, when Final Cut became a consumer product, it wasn't even the late '90s, it was early millennium. That changed everything. Like I was just happy to be a stuntman and get beat up, and make a bunch of dough with my friends. But then when Final Cut came, you know, we started shooting. Like we take a fight scene out of Armor of God or Meals on Wheels, and we recreate it. But it informed. Editing informs what you need to shoot. And once you know what you need to shoot, now you're a director. And if you know how to fight, you know how to stage that, now you're an action director. And that's kind of how it started. And then shooting thousands of stunt biz and pre-biz over the years. So what I do we edit as we go. My stunt team, and I have this amazing stunt team with Troy Robinson, Justin Yu, and Felix Betancourt. They're with me all over. We do just wacky stuff all over the world. But they cut the action while we're doing it, and my editor cuts the story while we're doing it. So when I wrap principal photography, I get on a plane, go to London where post was, and we just put the reels together, and I watch the movies, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Now I get it down to 153. This was 144. Get it down to 153, and then leave a little low-hanging fruit, and then test it and see what, so I test it with a lot of film people first for technical advice, but then I want to test it with the audience, like maybe go outside of LA, or go outside of the big cities where it's the people that will ingest this in the middle, that aren't in our business, that aren't looking at it from a technical perspective, and find out which characters they like, which characters they didn't like, and why, what was funny, what wasn't funny, because what I think is funny isn't always what's funny. So in taking that and not taking it personally, but taking it as information, because ultimately my job, they pay me to make the best movie possible, and it might not be the best movie for me, it needs to be the best movie for the audience. It's like when you hunt, you have to understand the animal you're hunting, and I use that same approach when I'm cutting the movies. I hope that answered it.
Yeah, because and we can make so much stuff now, even with phones in our pockets, everybody. So the answer is like, just do it. Do what he did. He just started doing it.
The more you shoot,
you're already what you want to be. That's
the more you shoot, the better. Because you just learn. The more and if you're not shooting and somebody shoots for you, the more you cut, the better. It's just, there's no right or wrong. There's only what works and doesn't work. And what you feel like. So I use a lot of drone technology because I feel like. So I'll just real quick. I feel like my job as a director is to try not to ever do the same thing over and over again. Like if you're gonna recreate something, change it a little bit and pay homage to it. But then give the audience a different perspective. Example, car chases have been the same since the late 80s, when the Russian arm, we call it the Ukraine now, we don't say Russian arm anymore, but it's called the Ukraine. It's like a high performance vehicle that has a crane on the back of it with a 3 or 4 axis head. And that you can get right in the mix. It's like a turbo Porsche Cayenne. And you got everybody in there on the wheels doing it. But that's been the same since the late 80s. Then the e-bike came with a front and back mount camera. But the drone, the FPV drone, has been the most drastic perspective change that you can give the audience. Especially now that they have gimbals, so the horizon doesn't change. So I feel like that technology, and people are using it a lot, but I feel like we're still just scratching the surface of what the capabilities are. So that would be another thing, like trying as a director or as an editor or as a stunt coordinator, whatever, trying to do something that hasn't been done before. That's kind of the job.
All right, and then one last one, right? You saw
Yeah,
it.
there was what you got up there, come here.
Yeah, the way you blend the gruesome kill scenes and put some humor into them, great blend.
Thank you.
With that being said, when you had Bautista in your line of being able to get it into a script, did you know he had that sense of humor, and did you incorporate that into this? Because I think he has a sense of humor that I see in a lot of his movies. I think it's great. So,
yeah, I mean, we've kind of found Joe Flood together. Like I had my ideas. I'm always a big fan of, Big Trouble in Little China. I like Snake Plissken from, Escape from New York, Jack Burton always said. I like cheeky, lead characters that aren't always just badass but take a beating too. But, Dave had a lot of ideas too. And what I do is I do what's on the page because that's what they're paying me. But we do a lot of alts. I did a movie called Spy with a comedy director named Paul Feig. And
Spy.
Yeah,
Jason Statham.
That's right.
Melissa McCarthy.
That's right. I did the action on that for Paul. It was his first action movie. But I was watching the way he directed the comedy. he would have these Post-it notes, like it would look like an accordion, where he would do what was on the page and say, now try this, and I was like, oh shit. And when I saw the movie, I was like, killed it. So that's kind of where I took that from. So we do a lot of alts, and I let them go off the reservation. As long as we're making our days, as long as we're not upside down, you know, then we just let them ad-lib a little bit too, because sometimes you scratch it hard enough, you pull up gold.
And in real life, Dave Bautista is a gentle giant and hilarious. He's like quietly hilarious. You have to pay attention.
Yeah, I just gotta tell you guys, if you don't have someone like Dave Bautista in life, you're missing out, because he's such a gem. He's kind, he's intelligent, he's good looking, he's rich. God, I hate him. He's super special, and you know, like he's but very, very, very intelligent and very aware of his performance and how to help. Like he's a really good partner for the other actors too, and it's just been a real pleasure working with him.
Yeah, and the best way that you can help celebrate your good taste and all of this talent is by making sure that you spread the word. So be sure to post. The Killers Game everywhere, opens this Friday. Tell everyone, because as we all know, opening weekends are so critical, and we want another one. Yeah?
We gotta go.
So give it up for JJ Perry.